In this video, I'm going to go over the top 5 fastest TTK weapons in Warzone 2 at this moment in time ahead of the Season 2 update. We've seen some updates to the Warzone API recently, so sites such as sim.dg have been able to go and actually data mine the full Warzone 2 stats for all the weapons, so this is 100% accurate. This means we know all the time to kill stats, damage stats, all attachment stats, and how they negatively or positively impact on a weapon. Because of this, we now have been able to fully figure out which weapons have the fastest TTK. This is in no particular order as we're bouncing around a whole bunch of different ranges, but it's no surprise to see the Fennec in this list. This thing is an absolute beast up close and actually has a 730 millisecond TTK at 23 meters. And if you were to compare this with other SMGs, you can see the Fennec is clearly the best, not only up close but also over mid-ranges as well. The TTK actually carries on being really good for a submachine gun over range, but like I said, we've still got some mid-range, close range and some long-range weapons still to come. The Fennec is definitely more used for that close-range TTK, around 23 meters. That's more your house-to-house, pushing into different rooms, etc. This weapon is goated and has to be a go-to choice for that close quarter combat areas. The setup for this gun probably hasn't changed too much from what you're probably used to by now. The rubber rear grip is going to be for that better sprint to fire speed and quicker ADS. This so you can play super aggressively, and I tune this to help out with some of the recoil and counteract that negative con of losing some recoil control. And it also gives better sprint to fire speed so you can play nice and fast. 45 round mag speaks for itself. This is a must have as the fire rate is so ridiculously fast you're always running out of ammo. The VLK 7mm laser to help out again with that ADS and sprint to fire speed. You can also get some better stability with this too, which is almost a free benefit, so this is obviously the go-to laser to have. And then the shark fin underbarrel is basically free stats. We're getting that free stability as is, but then you can tune this for fast aim walking speed and extra ADS speed as well. The last attachment I go for is the RR40 suppressor. We're always using this pretty much in all SMGs because the cons are super minimal. You lose a little bit of ADS, but we're already gaining that back with the laser and the rear grip, and a little bit of stability, but again we gain that back with the laser as well. We tuned this one for slightly better velocity so the hit rate feels more consistent, but also faster ADS speed as well, so this weapon is frying and flying at the same time. Now next up we move on to the Chimera, aka the Honey Badger. Now like you, I was very surprised to see this one on the list for mid-range engagements. This weapon has a 706 millisecond TTK at 32 meters, which makes this ideal prime sniper support and prime close to mid-range combat. I thought the 74U would be the clear and obvious choice, but the Chimera's TTK is actually slightly more consistent. I also think this gun is a little bit easier to use and a little bit more friendly in terms of control. And versus other SMGs and other rifles for close to mid-range, this is definitely the go-to choice in terms of overall TTK. So first up here, we're going to go for the Bruin Flash Grip. Again, this gives you better ADS and sprint to fire speed, so this thing is going to be nice and aggressive. Once again, I'll be tuning this for quicker sprint to fire speed and slightly better recoil steadiness to sort of negate that con that we get there. The 45 round mag again is a must-have for Warzone, especially if you're doing duos, trios, or quads, etc. The fire rate is relatively fast again, so having that larger magazine is a nice safety net to have. I also go for the F-Tac Ripper underbarrel. You can see that with the underbarrel and the muzzle that I'm going for here, we're going to get that prime sniper support build. Prime for that 25 to 40, 50 meter range where a lot of sniper support fights take place. And on the underbarrel, I'm going for better idle stability and better recoil stabilization, so it's going to be even easier to consistently land shots. The muzzle is of course the go-to for better control out of all the suppressors and better bullet velocity. We tune that for better velocity again, helping out the hit rate consistency, basically making sure the shots are going where I'm actually shooting. Also we tune this for better ADS speed as well, which gives it that extra mobility. Lastly, the barrel I'll go for is for ADS speed yet again, but it also gives better range for an added bonus. We tune this for better steadiness and better damage range as well, so you're getting a lot of exactly what you need out of this gun with this setup. Good mobility, good control, good range, good velocity, great for those close to mid-range fights. We still have 3 more weapons to go through today, but if you guys are new around here, consider saying hello down in the comments and let me know what your favourite weapon is so far in Warzone 2. And while you're down there, leave a like and subscribe. Now next up, I don't think this one will be too much of a surprise for you in terms of the fast TTK. It has one of the fastest TTKs in the game, and of course it's the Taq-V. I've done a number of shorts and TikToks on this weapon and it's an absolute monster, and the official stats from sim.gg back this up. At a range of around 45 meters, this is prime mid-range gunfights. It has a 624 millisecond TTK. That is truly disgusting. This weapon does come with a bit of recoil, which you have to get used to, but luckily with this build build, we basically just focus on recoil control. So when you hit your shots, you're going to fry your opponent. The stock we go for is for more recoil control and aiming stability. We tune this for slightly faster ADS time and aiming idle stability again. The 50 round mag speaks for itself, especially for, like we said, duos, trios, quads, etc. It becomes a must-have for taking out multiple enemies at a time. But if you're good at placing your shots, don't be scared about selecting the slightly lower one for increased mobility. Again, we go for the F-Taq Ripper underbarrel. This, as we know, gives better recoil stabilization and aiming idle stability too. Tune this for recoil stabilization and a bit more aim idle stability yet again. The muzzle I go for is a little different than other builds that I've seen, but it's a Sakin Tread 40. This gives you great vertical and horizontal recoil control, helping you land those shots, especially if you're spraying all over the place. I tune this for better gun kick control and some fast ADS speed, which is always useful, again helping for that mobility and just overall speed. Then I go for the high velocity ammo. Yet again, it's proven by the data that this is at least 3 times more effective on the velocity than any other barrel you can equip on this weapon. Tune this for better damage range and slightly better bullet velocity. Another weapon I'm sure you expected to be on this list, the Raal LMG. When it comes to long range, just like in multiplayer, this thing is actually unmatched. You've heard the other guns TTK stats for close and mid range. This is for 80 meters, and this thing has a 607 millisecond time to kill, which is absolutely mental. Of course, that is if you have perfect accuracy, and you may miss some of your shots here and there, but even so, this thing fries. Based on the true data stats here from sim.gg, the Raal is absolutely nuts for long range, the go-to in terms of overall raw power. Here we are with the rear grip for that better control, focusing on the idle stability and recoil steadiness for the tuning. The aim OP sight is the most popular to use as it has less visual recoil than most others, and you want to tune this all the way to far and a little bit to ADS speed to compensate how slow it can be. The Dune grip underbarrel is going to be for that recoil steadiness and stability, which is all just general recoil control, getting benefited from doing this, and we tune it for better aim idle and recoil stabilization. We have the Nil Sound 90 suppressor. This gives you better range and better velocity. We tune this again for ADS speed to compensate how slow it can be and for better bullet velocity. The Rhino barrel is definitely the go-to in terms of getting that better velocity and even better control out of this weapon. So overall, with these attachments, it will have very minimal recoil, virtually zero, and its power is just insane. See it for yourself. Lastly, we have the RPK. We all know it. This has been the main meta weapon in the game so far. It's the most consistent and accurate, and the actual TTK stats back it up. Not only does it have a minimal recoil, it's great for damage at all ranges, but it has a 725 millisecond time to kill at 80 meters. So slightly less power than the Raal at that range, but it has quicker ADS and much more mobile, making it better at those mid-range fights. You can actually run around with this thing and not feel like you've just eaten your body weight of dominoes, which is obviously nice to have. The recoil is about the same as the Raal, I'd say. Both bounce around a little bit, but nothing too extreme. And the longer you shoot with both of these, the recoil just disappears. The Demo X2 grip again for better control, and we're tuning this for better steadiness and idle stability. We use the aim OP sight again, as mentioned before, for less visual recoil, but it's entirely up to you, personal preference. You can also go for the Schlager if you want, or the VAOK, or whatever you're most comfortable with. Tune this again for slightly faster ADS speed. Again, we go for the high velocity ammos. You don't need a magazine on this weapon, and the barrels with this kind of just hurt your range and control, so I'm not a massive fan of those. And here we tune it for slightly better bullet velocity and slightly better damage range as well. It just makes it slightly more consistent at longer range. Once more, we have the deadly duo of the Custodian muzzle and the F-Taq Ripper. For the underbarrel, we have recoil stabilization and aim idle stability. No surprises again. On the muzzle, we tune for slightly faster ADS and a little bit better bullet velocity. So overall, all these weapons are great choices if you're just looking to fry an Al Mazrah. Maybe beat some of your kill PBs. Some of these have a slightly higher skill gap just because of the recoil control, but if you're looking to just melt your enemies, these guns are the go-to in the game for sure. I expect some of these to change in the future of Season 2 just around the corner, but if any changes do occur, I will make an updated list for you guys, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thank you very much for watching as always, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.